So when the fight started, I was losing my mind. Charles Oliveira goes out there. He's pushing the pace. He's going forward like he always does. Cracks him with a big right hand. Gets the takedown with authority. Takes the back, dropping elbows. I'm like, oh my God, he's going to smoke Max Holloway within one round. But he didn't. And then the second round, I was like, whoa, he's going to do it again. And he didn't. And then the third, it was the same, and the excitement level dropped a bit. Then it was the fourth round, and then it was the fifth round. And by then, a lot of people were booing and stuff like that.
I understand what people are saying. It's not very BMF-like. That's right, but at the same time, any way to win. I should have done more of this against Gagey. I'd love to fight Charles, though. Everyone goes on about his grappling. Everyone thinks it's levels above man, and I know it isn't. If I fought Charles, we'd probably end up having a war on the feet. Charles's resume is heavy, like.
Right, the fact that Charles lost to Max 10 years ago and for 10 years has asked for Max. The night that he lost to Max, he tried to get a rematch with Max. When Charles was in the division, he tried to get a rematch with Max. When Charles left the division, thus making it impossible to get a fight with Max, he tried to get a rematch with Max. Like there was something about that first thing, that first feeling. And Charles knew it was all mental. He knew these lights are too bright. I didn't think I belonged out there. I surprised myself. Let me try it again.
I did not expect Max Holloway to get dominated like this. I did not expect Charles Oliveira to be able to go over there and grab him and pick him up and put him down on the ground every single time. But that's the one thing that Charles can do very well, is that he has great hands. He has great power in his hands. He's dropped Dustin Poirier. He's dropped Justin Gaethje. He's dropped Michael Chandler. He's pretty much dropped a lot of guys he's fought recently, right? Now, the guys he did have the hardest time with were guys who could grapple. When he fought Arman Tsarukyan, what did Arman do to him? Arman grappled him. When he fought Islam Makhachev dropped him and then followed him to the ground. So he's always had a hard time with guys who are athletic, who will be able to fight him in that grappling realm. But when you look at Max Holloway is the best boxer in the UFC. Charles Oliveira saw a perfect game plan, and he was able to take Max Holloway down easy.
Relative to expectation, I think Charles "Do Bronx" Oliveira overachieved in the eyes of many. But if you just pare it down to a mixed martial arts fight, perhaps a lot of people should have seen this coming. You know, Joe Rogan walks into the dressing room and he says, I have no idea why this betting line is the way it is. You know, it's like maybe I don't know what I'm seeing, right? But Charles Kenny was able to get the fight where he wanted to in every round and did enough with those positions to be able to maintain them. I think Max should be hailed in defeat for not being submitted as others would have been. He received his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt thereafter.
I mean, that does happen. That does happen. Yeah. Maybe they were planning on giving it to him anyway, and they thought that he was going to win, but he didn't win. And they're like, oh, I feel bad for the guy. Let's give him a black belt, like a token appreciation.
Not really thinking about how it looks when you just, again, Max did do a good job defensively, but we all know that I don't know, that I wouldn't want to get my black belt after having just been mauled on the ground for almost 25 minutes.
Hey, you didn't get submitted. That was a black belt.
We've never seen that happen to Max Holloway before. Controlled 21 minutes of a 25-minute fight. Never showed like he got tired. After every round, that was kind of the thought. Okay, he controlled him one round. He controlled him 2 rounds. But how is the cardio going to be going to the next round? Because you're stuck on your feet with Max Holloway. He's just so fast. He's got great boxing. He throws in combination, and he's really hard to take down. But once Charles just got his hands locked, it was game over every single round, and it was very surprising. We can't lose sight of that.
It was knowing how good both those guys are in being in the sport. It was a beautiful performance. Charles Oliveira went in there. Dude, Max looked so sharp. The first 15, bro, when he was letting his hands go, jabbing high, jabbing low, 2s, straight, blah, blah, blah. Charles Oliveira ate a couple shots, said, fuck this. I don't know if that was his game plan. Like, I'm going to go in there and just out-grapple him. If it was his game plan, execute it perfectly. Or if he went in there, ate a couple shots, and said, all right, yep, this isn't, like, he was landing good shots too. But if Max and Charles just trade, Max is gonna win those trading. I think, or I felt like.
Yeah.
And Charles did what he had to do. It was still a beautiful performance. It was an impressive performance from Max, to not get submitted and have someone like that on top of you on your back for that long. It was tough. If it wasn't the BMF belt on the line, I don't think it would have got as much hate.
So you can't blame him. A lot of people are going to bring up the BMF and be like, what's the point of the BMF? Which I get. I sort of get in a sense where, you got to do whatever you got to do to win. But I mean, like, all right, then, like, what do we even have a BMF for? Like, let's be real. It's not the title. The title fight's the title fight, and then the BMF title is something completely different. It's like, if we start fighting like that now, don't be surprised if, and I might get quoted on this might get clipped, don't be surprised if the BMF belt gets taken away. We might not see it. I'm not having shots. I'm not saying this. I'm just saying that where it's losing its purpose. The purpose behind it is guys that are just going to go and put on fights. And they've all been fights before this. This one wasn't. Again, I'm not trying to throw shade on Charles. What an incredible win. When we talk about performance and all that, incredible. Awesome. But just the fact that the BMF, I'm just talking about the BMF circumstances.
But when we think of the BMF title, the one thing that we got before, right, when Nate Diaz fought Jorge Masvidal, and they weren't in title contention, and they weren't the most successful guys and former champions, we got kind of brawls. Is that what the BMF stands for inside the Octagon? I got a message from Michael Chandler that I didn't see on Twitter or X, and it said, DC, I think you can try to get this some traction. Please make it stand and bang like on the video game. Is that what you guys expect out of the BMF? I asked that to Joe and John. I am more aligned with them. BMF is also just the extension of winning and putting yourself in position to become a world champion. But I think the general consensus is when you get the BMF title on the line, you're looking for bangers. I mean,
well, and here's why we have to change the structure of how we handle the BMF. I think the BMF should be an annual thing, not exclusive to any one weight class, not a champion, but just an annual thing where we're picking two guys from any one of the weight classes that we know are going to deliver. Because I think what had happened was the BMF title became too prestigious. No, it just became too prestigious in terms of we need to win.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, Charles put on a championship level performance, one that should win him, one that could have won him a UFC title. But that's not what we want from a BMF.
You just pick two other guys when an amount of time has passed and go, right, these two have been such warriors inside the Octagon. We're going to give them the ultimate chance because they deserve, maybe they're not in line for an undisputed belt. But the fan base all agreed. We agree. Everyone watching agrees that these two deserve some kind of appreciation, a trophy, a piece of memorabilia, and the accolade, the accolade of being a UFC bad motherfucker.
Just making it a yearly thing. Like, okay, who this year demonstrated those values of what a BMF is and get to fight for it?
That's an amazing idea.
Should we call Dana?
We're going to call Dana. We're going to call Zach. We're going to be like, listen, guys, we've got it. We figured it out.
But regardless, it's still MMA. BMF is still under MMA. So, if you remember, they had that mode in one of the last UFC games, just stand and bang. If they want to make it that,
change the rule set.
Yeah, change the rule set. Because I mean, like, if you want to make the title about something and then have something else for the submissions, maybe, I don't know.
No, yeah, that might be the solution. Because I mean,
well, no, who's gonna like the submission, especially? Like, I like watching the grappling.
Charles Oliveira will fight again for the title, I believe. Both of these guys were trying to see who was going to be next for the title shot after Arman Sarukian. So, tip my hat to Charles Oliveira. Great job, great performance tonight. I know it wasn't the fan favorite that everyone was hoping for the BMF title, but look, levels to this game. Fight IQ was on display tonight. You got to appreciate that, and you got to give the guy some respect, man. You got to give him some respect. This is Charles Oliveira.
You know, this was kind of unexpected in that I think a lot of people look at Charles Oliveira, myself included, and I'll explain why I thought Max Holloway was going to win. I look at Oliveira and I say, you know, he's got great striking. He's got great jiu-jitsu, especially when he gets on top. His offensive arsenal is phenomenal, but I wasn't so confident in his wrestling. What won this fight was his wrestling, his ability to utilize his striking, not as just a singular weapon, but as a means to get into that clinch and immediately off balance Holloway, keep him off balance, and eventually get him to the ground. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. He never really let Max Holloway settle up against the cage, where he's very good at defending takedowns. And he was just non-stop pressure when it came to his takedown game. And that was something that I think was underestimated by a lot of people, including myself.
Yeah. I mean, it was dominant. I felt like it started off exciting, and then when you kind of see the same thing over and over and over, you're kind of like, damn, this kind of sucks. So, I mean, do you blame Oliveira? I don't know if you blame him, right? I mean, he did his job. Yo, he's so strong in that clinch, Oliveira. When he grabs you, that was like, people were asking me about the fight, and I go like, I feel like Max should win, but Charles has this wild card when he gets his hands locked on that body lock. He just does such a good job of getting guys down.
To be honest, it looked like Charles was landing better shots on the feet as well. I'm surprised they haven't been stood up though. Yeah, a little 5 seconds left. Had the scrap, dominant performance. I can understand why people were moaning about it. Like, people say you're a BMF title fight, you'd expect more striking, but as I've seen other people saying, that's very BMF, like going out there and dominating someone for 25 rounds like he did. 25 full minutes. You've got to win. That's the name of the game, winning. I probably should have tried to do that more in my last fight, get 21 minutes of ground control, but instead I stood there and tried to bang it out. You can't really moan at Charles for doing that, because Charles is more of a grappler.
A lot of people online were complaining about the fight being boring. Guys, I just went and played 5 rounds of golf. Golf is boring, but if you love golf and you understand how hard golf is, you can sit there and watch master worlds of golfing. But there's a lot of people out there who don't know anything about mixed martial arts, who don't know how to fight in mixed martial arts. So the fight wasn't boring. It was definitely BMF worthy. I just think people got to really take into context of what you're watching.
As expectations live as sort of resentments in waiting, right? We'll get to the White House card in a little bit, right? But relative to expectation, this fight under-delivered for a lot of fight fans. And in terms of what the thoughts about this fight potentially could be on the front end, it doesn't seem to dovetail at all with what we're hearing on the back end. Well, I'm not shilling for the UFC. They probably wanted a different type of fight. But for me, I go humbly back at Daniel Cormier on the broadcast, because this is fascinating to watch play out, just as Khamzat Chimaev's win was over Dricus du Plessis and other grappling victories that we have seen previously.